Never actually filmed getting off because it's in a ridiculous place. I'll show you in a minute in case you haven't seen. But I'm going to replace that with this collection of bronze fittings I bought. So last week we replaced that seacock that had been such a struggle to get off. This week we fit our new hatch and we fit the LED lights that we'd done the wiring for a couple of weeks previous. Like the right size or shape to fit on top of this slab. Okay, so things are progressing quite well. So next week, clock's ticking, going in the start of April. We've actually looked it up now to work out what we've got to get done and why, or when. But I've done the hatch, but spent a bit of time in the garage, cutting down the bits of teak, sanding them, screwing them into position, then sanding down the edges on the acrylic, which actually was really easy. I'm quite impressed. It's a bit scary, acrylic, because it can split and stuff if you're not careful with it, but the sizes I asked them to cut, I think when I first got that piece of acrylic I was slightly sceptical of how good a job they'd done on cutting it, because I just sort of slid the old hatch back and started to slide it, and it was a bit tight. But it was only tight because it still had its protective plastic film on, and I hadn't sort of rounded off the edges. It was a very square cut edge, but since I've rounded the edges off and removed the bit of plastic, it fits perfectly. And now, having taken the old hatch out, it is actually like the perfect size. So I don't remember who it was that did that bit of acrylic, but if you look back through the old films, I'm sure I mentioned it. But they did a cracking job, and it's a good bit of acrylic, and I drilled the holes in it. I'm sure you're probably meant to use sharp drills to avoid splitting it, and I haven't got sharp drills, but I kind of drilled from one side and then drilled through the other side so that I didn't have that nasty coming out the back edge sort of effect, and it drilled nicely. So I've screwed the bits of teak to it, and yeah, drilled the hole for the locking pin, and it's all looking good. Also stained the woodwork on the outside. I'm not a big lover of putting finishings on teak, because generally speaking teak's quite happy looking after itself, and then it saves the effort having to renew it every year. But our teak is getting on a bit, and the tiller and the handrails, which I've also screwed on, I'm going to swap hands because that arm's aching a bit. They were starting to show signs of weathering. You get this sort of raised grain effect, and it's getting to the point where I'm thinking, if I don't do something soon, they're going to be not salvageable. So, and a couple of years ago, I discovered International Wood Skin, which is kind of not a varnish, it's not a stain, it's not an oil, it's kind of a bit of all of it, and it's brilliant stuff. No real preparation, sand it back and that like you would normally, but you can brush it on. You're not trying to get a perfect finish because it doesn't set to a perfect finish. But it doesn't set hard, so it lets the wood breathe, it moves with the wood as it expands and contracts with drying out. Really good stuff. So I put a couple of coats of that on, and it's looking quite pretty now. I've cut, if I move back here, don't know if this is going to come out, but for those of you that were watching the last one where I fitted the engine seacock, I've put the cover on now, and I've cut this hatch out here, which has just got if you remember back a few more previous episodes, I'd already coated this in this lead lined foam sound insulation, and I didn't want to take that off because, as is the way when I'm doing this, there's no big master plan. I'm kind of making it up as I go along. If I'd thought about it, I'd have cut this hole first, but then if I was going to do that, I'd have had to fit the seacock first to know what I was going to do. So I've kind of made it up as I go along. But basically now I know where the seacock is, which I can now reach. It's a bit of a reach down there, but I can reach the seacock. I cut a hole out with one of those oscillating multi-tools. It's like the only new power tool that's been invented, or truly new power tool that's been kind of invented in the last 50 years. Just an oscillating blade that does this, and I could just press it on there and just literally cut it out, and that was it. And there's no wastage. It was a really neat cut. I've used another bit of plywood, which is just the 3mm plywood, an off-cut of the 3mm plywood I bought for doing the headlinings. Stuck it to it, bit of silver tape over it, perfect. Whether that's going to need a catch or something to hold it in place, I don't know, but hopefully, this is lead lined, that's lead lined, it will just stay there. So what I'm going to do next is connect up our LED lights. Again, if you remember from weeks gone by, I showed you all the wiring in place. It's now held up with masking tape, which is working quite well. But underneath the bottom here, where I'm going to be fitting the LED strip light, it's going to go along underneath this seat, there's just bare wires. Well, my LEDs that I ordered from China have arrived, and I've been asked, how do you wire them up, Ian? So I thought I'd just quickly tell you what I do. And I'm no electrician, so I could be completely wrong. But if you look around, you'll find you can buy these LED strips of LED lights. It is literally a strip with a line of LED lights down it, quite easily, not that expensive, and they do them in 12 volt, which is convenient, isn't it? They come with a tail on, so you can start connect up. But the beauty of these is they're normally done in like pairs, triples, whatever. This one is in threes by the looks of it, because I don't know if you're going to be able to see that. If you look closely, every 3-1 there's a little dotted line to say you can cut it here if you want to. And equally, every 3-1 there's 2 little solder pads. So what you can do is you cut it to the length you want to cut it to, solder 2 new tails onto the solder pads, the next lot of solder pads on, and you can carry on using the whole strip. So you don't throw it away, you don't waste it. Whether they need regulating or anything for the 12 volts, I don't know. I'm kind of hoping not, for when the engine's running and stuff. This sort of thing is normally quite resilient to changes in voltage and stuff like that, but we'll find out. Certainly didn't have any problems the last time we did it. And generally speaking, these aren't going to be on when the engine's on, so you know, we only really have the lights on, or these lights like this on, when we're at standstill, so I don't think it's going to be any kind of problem. And I am now going to just solder them onto my bit of wire that I've got. I could use more of those connectors, but I don't really think it's, I could use more of those Wago connectors, for those of you that haven't watched my thing about how I did the wiring harness. I'm going to just solder them on with some glue line heat shrink that'll seal it, and then stick them in place. I'm going to crack on with that, and maybe if there's enough daylight left and I've finished, I'll show you what we've done. Okay, so it's the next day, and I didn't get that much done yesterday because Elizabeth phoned me up at I don't know, after I'd been here 40 minutes perhaps, and I spent most of that time making the last film, to say that Mummy was being sick. And sure enough, I get home and she's got kind of sickness and diarrhea, which Elizabeth promptly caught, so both of them were throwing up last night and not having a good night, and I didn't have a good night because obviously I spent my time listening and worrying about those two. So, but anyway, I've come down here this morning and finished off what I started, so I thought I'd just show you what I've done, because I'm going to go home now and look after the family, and got things like the shopping to do and sorting out the clothes and all the other household sort of chores that need doing. Anyway, I've stuck the LED lights up. Have a look. It's daylight, so you kind of can't see much, but I've got a run of lights underneath that bit, under which is going to light up a sort of galley area. A line of lights there under the quarter berth, and a line of lights just there, which is over that bit where the seacock goes and that hatches for the engine, and so that should I need to be able to see what I'm doing, it'll help. And then of course got the cabin lights done. So there's a strip of LED lights along the top of each row of the cabinets, and then there's a strip of LED lights along underneath each of the seats. If you can just about see that, running along the line of the top of the seats. And they look pretty good. I need to come back in some daylight really to see what effect they've had, but I'm going to stop it short now, and we'll carry on next week. But we are ticking things off the job list, although time is running out. So the most frustrating thing at the moment is the headlining. It's trivial really, because I've cut the bolt out. I've just got to stick the vinyl on it, but we just can't make our mind up. The things we're finding are just not the right colour, or not the right shade, or not the right texture. Or we found a colour that we kind of like, but they don't do it foam backed. Thank you to the people that have been in contact. We've had some good pictures about things that other people have done. So we're kind of happy now as well that we don't mind the contrast of the two colours. Can't remember the name of the guys that have sent pictures, but put our mind at rest. Look great. So we're going to do that, but it's just finding the right one, and it's kind of hanging. It's holding up everything in here because I can't kind of fit the tyre rods, can't finish the electrics, put the lights in. So it's getting a bit irritating, but maybe I could do that this afternoon while I'm looking after Hannah and Elizabeth. Anyway, I'm Ian. This is Sailing with the Foxwell family. Thanks for watching. See you next week.